Hello everyone, back to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, that's going to take us to around the 8th of July. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and also ECM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. So we'll see what's going to be happening through the first sort of week to 10 days of July very shortly. Now, GMA Friday has been released. That's a month ahead look at, and it's taking us into the second half of July. Some quite encouraging signs within GMA Friday today. But the first half of July, potentially quite a lot of dry and warm weather. But to be honest, I'm giving the game away a little bit with this video. The shorter range output, not really backing up those ideas. Actually, the shorter range output today is looking rather unsettled as we go through the early part of July. So it's a bit of July confusion, I have to say, at the moment. I'll talk you through what's happening very shortly. I'm going to start off, though, by having a look at the central England temperature. So this is the latest provisional to yesterday, 27th of the month. We're standing now at 14.1, an anomaly of 0.0. So we're bang on average, actually, right now with the central England temperature in terms of 61 to 90. We have clawed our way up. I've been below average through most of the month. We've just about clawed our way up to average. This is probably going to go a little bit above average over the next couple of days. This is going to be hot, particularly tomorrow. So in the end, we're probably going to finish up around 0.3, 0.4 above average. There might be a downwards correction, though, so that might get us back to average. We're going to be within half a degree of average in any case, so if you're within half a degree of average either side, basically you've had an average month. So following on from May, which also came out bang on average, I think June is going to be very, very close to average in the end. That's set against 61 to 90, though, of course. The more modern average is 81 to 2010, and in that instance, both May and June would be coming out rather cooler than average, I think. So you always have to bear in mind about this this temperature anomaly that we're setting against 61 to 90, because it's an old temperature anomaly and it's a cold temperature anomaly. The 1960s were a very cold decade. They were the coldest decade of the 20th century, encompassing a lot of cold, miserable summers, and also, of course, very cold winters, particularly, of course, 1962, 1963. So it's a particularly cold temperature series, 61 to 99. We should really have moved on from it to 81 to 2010 by now, but there we go. They still keep using it at the UK Met. So if we set it against a more recent temperature average of 81 to 2010, both May and June, I think, are going to be coming out a little bit below average. Now, we have got hot weather on the way for tomorrow. This is the latest temperature forecast from the high-resolution arpege. This is for today, starting off from the weatheroutlook.com for 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So things are warming up out there. This afternoon, we're going to be seeing maximums around 3 o'clock, up to around 28, 29 there, down towards the south coast of England in the southwest corner. So add a degree on, that gets you to 30. We may see somewhere getting to 30 degrees today, but it's really going to be tomorrow that the heat intensifies. It's a one-day wonder, but through tomorrow afternoon, we're seeing temperatures there going up to 32, 33 degrees. So that's low 90s Fahrenheit from the Midlands down into central southern parts of England. Around 3-4 in the afternoon. But we go through to Sunday, and then it's a cooler day on Sunday, a fresher day. Maximum temperature on Sunday is going to be kind of like 24 or 25, much more comfortable. And by the time we get through into Monday, you'll see that maximum temperature then is into the low 20s through Monday afternoon. So it really is a one-day only offer for us tomorrow with this heat, and then it'll be gone as we get through into Sunday and through to Monday. Not the case on the continent, though. It's roasting hot over France and into Spain, and also into some central parts of Europe. These are the upper air temperatures that we've got this afternoon across Europe. So we have got the 20 Celsius isotherm well into the UK. So it's remarkable that the upper air temperatures are so hot, but we're only talking about maximums today of kind of like possibly getting to 30 degrees. That's very, very unusual with such a high upper air temperature. So we're getting away with this. And if you don't like intensely hot weather, we have been very, very lucky here because the upper air temperatures are really, really hot. That's a really hot upper air temperature. So we have got away with it to a large degree, but they haven't got away with it across France. You see how intensely hot it is from France down into Spain, through into Central Bowl of the Mediterranean and up into the Low Countries, into parts of Germany and also over towards Italy. Parts of France, new temperature records being set, going well into the 40s Celsius, well over 100 Fahrenheit. And as I say, we are really, really lucky. If you don't like hot weather, we're really, really lucky here not to be roasting along with the rest of Western Europe. Now, tomorrow, we're going to keep this intense heat going across France and the western side of Europe too. We know it's a hotter day across southern and southeastern parts of England tomorrow as well. That Sunday, still really hot across much of France, down to Spain, Portugal. Also, that heat intensifying over Germany, I think, on Sunday. But actually, for us, we're beginning to cool down. We're bringing those cooler upper air temperatures in from the Atlantic. I think Sunday will be less intense with the heat across France. Temperatures will just edge down by a degree or two, but still very, very hot for them. And then get through to the early part of next week, and then you see becoming much more comfortable with the upper air temperatures. They're lowering a lot across France and also the Low Countries and into parts of Germany as well. That's how things look on Tuesday. That's a much more typical type upper air temperature forecast. By the middle of next week, we've got the heat down through the Mediterranean. It's not especially intense, but it will be hot through the Med, obviously. But going further northwards, many central and northern parts of Europe are seeing much, much more comfortable temperatures. So we have people watching abroad. We have people watching from France, from Germany, from Scandinavia, from the Low Countries, from Ireland. We're quite international at Gazworthies. So if you're watching this and you are suffering with this really severe heat wave, then you've got a couple more days to go before things start to ease. Next week does look as though it should be much more comfortable for many of you. Right, so back to home. This is how the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking for the next couple of weeks. On Carlisle today, being asked to have a look at Carlisle. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Carlisle. We're starting off hot at the moment, of course, with those upper air temperatures remarkably warm, and we have got this discrepancy between the heat in the upper atmosphere and what is relatively modest warmth down on the surface. We're going to start to realise that heat potential tomorrow in the south and the southeast, with temperatures going above 90s Fahrenheit. But then after that, you see the sliding temperature. So by the early part of next week, we've actually gone a little bit below average, a little bit cooler than average with the upper air temperatures by the early part of next week. That's a really big drop in temperature from around 20 degrees at Carlisle, remember. So we're going north with this. 20 degrees at Carlisle tomorrow, down to just 0 degrees at 850 HPA by sort of Tuesday next week. So in about 4 days, we're losing about 20 degrees, which is quite dramatic. And strangely, it's not going to happen with thunderstorms either particularly. There will be some showery rain in the north over the weekend. It's not going to be particularly thundery. And it's just one of those odd situations where we don't get a thundery breakdown, but the temperature will be dropping a lot in the upper atmosphere anyway in the next few days. After that, just sticking quite close to the 30-year temperature average, really. No sign of anything particularly hot, no sign of anything particularly cool, just keeping those upper air temperatures quite close to average. It looks fairly unsettled for Carlisle too. These precipitation spikes just here. Showery rain on Saturday and into Sunday. That's on a cold front that's going to start to lower the temperature. Then a few days of drier weather through the early part of next week before possibly getting a bit more unsettled as we go into the second week of July. That's interesting because it's the period where the CFS and the JMA, the two long-range ones that featured in today's first video, they are forecasting a relatively warm and dry second week of July. But as I said, there's not much sign of that, certainly within the GFS ensemble. So there is a bit of July confusion going on at the moment. Temperature anomalies from the 28th of June to the 6th of July, a little bit cooler than average actually, and you see that the intensely hot, warm temperature anomalies that we've had across the west of Europe, France, Spain, into Germany over the past few days with these charts, you see that the intensity of the colours just beginning to ease a bit. So it is still significantly warmer than average, but the intensity is easing off. And certainly for many northern parts of Europe, we've got Scandinavia cooler than average, got west parts of Russia cooler than average. So certainly for northern Europe, it does look quite cool actually in the week ahead, with the heat wave easing across France, Spain and Germany in particular. Precipitation anomalies look much drier than average from the 28th of June to the 6th of July for the UK and many northern and western parts of Europe. So a little bit on the cool side, but mainly dry. That's how the GFS is looking for Monday, and by then we're into this cooler northwesterly push there, will be cooler, fresher, and some of that cooler is beginning to push down in towards France and the Low Countries as well, easing the heat away. Not too far from high pressure though through the early and middle part of next week, so a lot of dry weather on offer through the early and middle part of next week, and temperatures will probably be pleasantly warm, kind of like low to mid 20 Celsius with low humidity. I think it will be very pleasant through much of next week, and that high pressure is still sort of ridging through the country as we get through to Friday. So next week is shaping up to be pretty nice actually. Low humidity, warmer temperatures, feeling warm in the sunshine, but not excessively hot. And mainly dry, so quite a nice week coming up next week. That gets us to Saturday, 6th of July. We're still under that area of high pressure then. And as we get towards day 10, we just begin to see a little bit of a weakening of the high pressure. It's taking us to the 8th of July. Day 10 just starts to see that high pressure beginning to weaken a little bit. But still, I think at this point, most parts of the country would be mainly dry. Into more extended range, the high pressure gradually starts to sort of ease away from us a little bit. Begins to turn cooler and more unsettled from the northwest. As far as we go, it's Sunday the 14th of July. Beginning to look a little bit more threatening at this point, starting to turn cooler and more unsettled. Because that's a really long way off, so it is very unreliable. This is the GEM, and the Canadian model has us in this cooler run of winds from the northwest on Monday. And as we go through into Tuesday and Wednesday, we're under high pressure. It's going to be very pleasant through to the middle part of next week. GM does turn things much more unsettled though in the second half of next week. So this low pressure then starts to sink in from the Atlantic, and that's pulling in cool winds from the northwest and showers long spells of rain. It looks quite cool and unsettled with the GM as we're heading up towards day 10. So a much more unsettled and cooler solution with the GM compared to the GFS. Again, telling us there is a lot of uncertainty within the model output at the moment for the first sort of week to 10 days of July. So we're going to get some decent weather through the early and middle part of next week. But from around Thursday, Friday onwards next week, that's when the uncertainty is coming in. ECM is looking like that. So again, turning cooler from the northwest as we go through into the early and middle part of next week, but still under an area of high pressure. So it's going to be mainly dry, very pleasant conditions through the early and middle part of next week. Down across the continent, we're losing those very hot winds from Africa, and things will be turning cooler and fresher across much of France, Germany, Low Countries, Spain, Portugal. All those areas that have been suffering should see the temperatures going back closer to a more typical sort of summer level through the course of next week. To the end of next week, still close to high pressure with the ECM, but it is beginning to pull away into the middle of the Atlantic. It's starting to turn cooler and a bit more showery from the north, perhaps, although keep quite a bit of high pressure influences going up to day 10. So we get to day 10, that's how we're looking. Basically, we're still under an area of high pressure there. So the first week of July looking not too bad at all with the ECM and also with the GFS, but the GM is a bit more unsettled. These are the options that go on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which is the 8th of July. We've got 23 members of the ECM ensembles with above average heights at day 10 out to the west of us, over to west of the country, really below average heights up to the north. A lot of dry and settled weather on and off with that, not particularly warm. Winds are coming in from a north-northwesterly direction, but will be pretty pleasant. Then we've got 19 members of the ECM ensembles that look like this. They're more unsettled. Low pressure is away to the northeast of us, and we're bringing in the jet stream rather like that. So they're a little bit more unsettled and showery. And then we've got 9 with high pressure centred over top of the country. That probably the driest and warmest solution. That we bring the winds up from the south or from the southeast. In 2 weeks' time, that's the option that we have. 51 out of 51 members of the ECM ensembles with below average heights to our east-northeast, above average heights blocking around Greenland. Probably quite cool and probably quite unsettled actually as we get to 2 weeks away, the 13th of July. Very long way out though, of course. And then finally, this House CFSV2 is forecasting July in terms of a 700 millibar height anomaly, so it's placing an area of above average heights almost over top of the country now for July. Below average heights are up over Scandinavia. On the face of it, that's a pretty warm and dry July that's being forecast by CFSV2. Temperature anomalies are coming out warmer than average. You'll notice a very cool July, though, being forecast for Scandinavia. Interesting, we have quite a few people watching in Scandinavia, so if you're up there, it doesn't look like you're going to have much of a July. It looks like it'll be quite a bit cooler than average. But for us in the UK, we're under the bridge, so it looks like it's rather warmer than average month being forecast by CFS. And precipitation anomaly is just no real signal, although it is driving average across the central parts of Europe. If we do find ourselves under a ridge of high pressure through much of July, then I suspect we will come away with a drier than average month as well as a warmer than average month. So a little bit of uncertainty about the first week of July, but I still think we've got a lot of dry weather on offer here for the first week of July. Then it does get rather more sketchy though for the second week of July. Will we keep that mainly dry weather going? That's certainly what the CFS and the JMA want to do, or will we turn things more unsettled in the second week of July? I suspect that will be the focus of the videos in the next few days, because the first week of July, next week, looks relatively straightforward, and most of it should be dry and pleasant, if not particularly warm. Right, so that's it for video number 2. Now, tonight around 7 o'clock, we're going to have the latest ENSO update. That's going to bring you up to date with all of the developments in the Equatorial Ocean in terms of El Nino and that kind of thing. So that's going to be around 7 o'clock this evening, something like that. Busy weekend of updates coming up. Tomorrow we've got weekend broadcast and a week to 10-day video update too, but we'll be starting off with the first seasonal model roundup of the autumn. So we're going to get something like 11 or 12 long-range models together, see what they're all showing for the autumn for the first time this season. And then on Sunday, very, very big day on Sunday, because we've got the winter 2019-2020 NAO forecast being released at 10 a.m. I've already recorded it. It's going to be quite an interesting watch, I think. So that's Sunday at 10 a.m. And then 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday on the Gazlovers YouTube channel, we will have a live chat about that NAO forecast. I'll take some of your questions and it'll be interactive. I'll get the screen share going, so we'll show you some of those sea surface temperature anomaly charts at NOAA as well, hopefully. So that's 5 o'clock Sunday evening, live event at Gazlovers YouTube channel. Lots going on over the weekend, so do keep checking back to all of it. Right, that's all for now though, and thanks for watching.